Okay, straight line graph. Sorry, let me also just write the heading. This is going to be very quick, guys. Okay, there we go, straight line graphs. Highlight. Okay, that was the standard form of the straight line graph. I'm sure that's familiar. Y equals mx plus c, and then c was always the y-intercept, which is actually the same as a parabola that's written in standard form, right? Which is the same as a parabola that's written in standard form. A parabola is ax squared plus bx plus c, and c is also the y-intercept. All right. M is a bit more complicated. M is the gradient. Guys, a lot of people think that M is the x-intercept because it's written next to x, but that's not the case. Right? M is the gradient. And if you have to calculate the gradient, there was a specific formula that you used for that. The formula there was change in y, very important change in y at the top, over change in x at the bottom. It might actually provide with some of the analytic function. Right? Okay, but it is also part of function, so it should be good. So the gradient that you change y over change in x. Guys, to calculate the gradient, you always need 2 points. Right? So if you don't have 2 points, you will be unable to find the gradient. I'm just quickly going to do an example where they give you information about a straight line and you need to find the equation of it. Alright, so just quickly example. Find the equation of a straight line passing through the points -1, 0, and 0, 3. Now we remember that the standard form, I'm just going to write it here at the top, is y equals x plus 1. And C was the y-intercept. So guys, it's very nice if they've given you the y-intercept, you can just take straight away that is C. So just they give us the y-intercept here, we're looking at these 2 points. They gave us a point, -1, 0. Here my y value is 0. So what kind of point is this? If the y value is 0, that would be x-intercept. Remember, how do we calculate an x-intercept? By making y equal to 0. So if you have a point with y equal to 0, that means that it is an x-intercept. Okay, so we can just add that there. Y equals 0, therefore this is an x-intercept. The x-intercept, unfortunately, we can't just put it into the equation. Right. The next point, 0, 3, that point has an x value of 0. So what type of point is this? Y-intercept. Remember, if you have to calculate the y-intercept in any graph and you can't remember how to read it all, you can always just make x equal to 0. Alright, define the y-intercept. So if it's given you a point with an x value of 0, that is the y-intercept. And that value, that intercept is at 3. So that means that C is equal to 3. I'm just going to write in brackets here. That is because 3 was the y-intercept. You don't have to write that y-intercept as a part of your answer, which is in a case, but just as part of the note, you can add it in. So we actually have that this equation is going to be y equals mx plus 3. So we still need to find m, right? So now that this point, we actually have two options. M is the gradient, right? We have a formula for gradient. Do we have 2 points? Yes. So you can use your gradient formula to actually calculate it. Okay, so let's do that quickly. Option 1 would be to use the M formula and you remember that that formula was M is equal to change in Y over M. I'm just going to rewrite the 2 points that we have. Those are the 2 points that were given. -1, 0, and 0, 3. So use those 2 points in this formula. So guys, you can decide which point you want to start with. I'm just going to start with the point that I wrote down first. Okay, so we're going to say change in y at the top. This y value, right? So the y value is the first point. Minus, it's always minus, please. Minus the y value is the next, the other point. Okay, so y minus y. 0 minus 3. Over, same first point. But now it's changing x. So now x minus x. Alright, so this x value minus that x value. -1 minus 0. It's always minus, guys. What's 0 minus 3? -3, and that is -1. -3 divided by -1 is just 3. Now, m value for this graph is also 2. Okay, the same as that. But now, guys, option 2, which is actually shorter, and you might prefer option 2. What did we do with the other graphs, right? Just think back. We have one value. We have 2 variables here that we need to solve for if we're looking for a straight line. Okay, an m and a c. We have a c value. So look, there, c was 3. Now we still have one variable to find. We need to find m. And we have another point that we haven't used yet. We used this point, right? The y-intercept gave us the c value. We haven't used that point. What did we do with the other graphs when that was the case? We still had to find one variable and we still had one point. We subbed it into the equation, right? So that we can actually do that, and that's going to be shorter. So we haven't yet used the point -1, 0. We can now sub that point into this equation. So option 2 will be to sub the point we have not yet used into the equation. And I'm just going to write here what equation we're going to use. We're going to use y equals mx plus 3. Okay, because we've already found c, so we put that c value. So the point that we haven't used yet is -1, 0. And now just like for all the other graphs, we're going to sub it in on the right, this side on the left, because I'm solving for m, I like having it on the left. So m times x, so we're going to have m times the x value of this point now, which is -1, right? Okay. Okay, m times -1 plus 3 is equal to 0. Y, which is 0, right? So y value that comes. Now do you guys see how easy that is to solve? We just have one variable, which is m. So this is actually -m, right? M times -1 is -m. And if I move that plus 3, I'm going to get -3. So what is my m value? 3. So guys, you can decide, alright? So they give you a straight line graph and they ask you to find an equation. C value, you put that in, the y-intercept is always your C value. Alright, to find m, you can either use the gradient formula and work with both points, or you can sub in the point that you have not yet used and then solve for any problem. Okay, so now you need to write the equation there. Y is equal to mx plus 3, but m is now 3, so now we can say therefore y is equal to 3x plus 3. A question like this is usually a 3-mark question, alright? So they'll give you a mark for finding P, and then you just write it in. So if you write P equals 3, or you just write that line, you'll get a mark for that. And then, depending on which method you use, if you decided to use the gradient formula, they'll give you a mark for actually subbing it into that formula, alright? But if you decided to sub into the equation, they'll give you the mark for subbing it. And then the final mark will be actually for your final equation. Okay, they don't give a mark for the n value as well. They'll give a mark for the final. But I mean, that's 3 marks. That's 6% of the okay. Let me just check. 1.8, 1.9, and 1.10. We're doing those for Wednesday, right? Remember, Mrs. David and Mrs. I'll also about that. I'll also work through it and I'll work through they have not yet posted the practice case. I think she must do that today. We'll actually post it today. So I'll just follow up. And then that's also work through that. But remember guys, that's supposed to be like your last thing. Okay, don't start by looking at the practice case. Start by actually working through questions that we've either done in class or see a ruler as a nice one. Okay, I don't know if you guys find after that. That's really a nice way of getting lots of different questions on the specific type of thing that you are focused on. So if you think you need more practice in finding the lengths between points, right? Which is like that DE thing that we did, and also you can go to that specific section and practice the whole one. Okay, it's on all functions, guys. So everything that we've done since last term. So I did post all of the notes to a certain point earlier this term. But what I'll do now is I will do 1.8, 1.9, and 1.10. I'll do that later today, and then I'll post all the notes of the whole thing. Okay, so you can see if you missed anything, and all the videos are also. Do you guys have any last minute questions that you wanted to ask? Yes.